Brooke, welcome to Get Shit Done.
Well, I am so happy to be here.
I'm so grateful she's here. I got our times mixed up, and she was precious enough to give me 30 extra minutes because Mercury or whatever is in retrograde.
It is.
Probably not.
And it- it's a Friday, and
It's Friday.
everyone's a little bit behind schedule.
Exactly. I appreciate that. I love this
Yeah.
energy. I'm keeping this energy. Here we go.
That's
Um,
good.
Amazing. So I love for us to like set into the space. If you could rank on a scale of 1 to 10 how you're feeling in this moment in the business, what would you say? 10 being the highest.
An eight. I'm at an
Mm,
eight. We just got back from our company retreat, which
mm.
we'll probably talk about later. But every time we get back from a company retreat, it is just such a high. Everyone is excited, reconnected, recentered. There are stories, everyone's laughing. And then from a business perspective across the board, this has been a really exceptional year,
Yeah.
and some exciting developments.
Amazing. Well, we'll get into why this was an exceptional year. So I love that for you. So I'd love to like take it back to give people context because everyone, I think their path and their journey leads them to why they do what they do and why they do it at the level they do it based on, background and context. So tell us a little bit about like Little Brooke. Like what was it that you thought you wanted to do when you grew up?
Oh, does anyone know? I wanted to be a news anchor or the host of the Today Show. That's what I wanted to be. I was glued to the TV. The Today Show meant so much to me. It was my window into the world. I loved what they did. I loved how much fun they had on air. And that's what I wanted to do. So I went to school for journalism, thinking, okay, that's the direction. I'm going to be on screen. I will be on camera. I'm going to be the host. And life took me in a different direction.
I love this. I mean, I kind of feel like when you're a CEO of a company, you have to do a little bit of that. You have to like get people excited, rally them, which I think host of shows do. So it translates. I was a theater kid and like was in a
Yes.
pageant in high school. So it was like, oh, I was trained to be on stages and get people going. So
And you got to be
totally
a
get
good
it.
storyteller. You got to read
Yep.
people's energy. You need to draw information out of people when you need it. Yeah,
Exactly. So then, okay, what were you doing professionally before you started Marketwake?
everything. I was doing
All the things.
everything. I have worked in every industry that you can imagine, from retail and service, marketing, PR. I sold Segways at one point in time. That was a fun journey for me. But right before Market Week, I was actually in marketing for a startup. It was here in Atlanta, and I started as a marketing associate, worked my way to marketing director. I was about to leave actually when it was going through a pivot, and then was asked to step in as the CEO at 26 years old, which was a lot, to help kind of take it through that pivot process.
Mm. That's so interesting. How did you know so you were already working there, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was already working there, and I had seen it grow, seen it develop, seen it change. And at that point, it was a point-to-point API integration company,
Mm.
connecting all these different tools. And I think over time, what leadership realized is it was better to really focus in on one industry instead of trying to connect all of these different softwares and tools. It's complicated. I was actually on my way out. I had an idea of Market Week at the time. It hadn't begun yet.
Mhm.
And then the CEO at the time said, "Hey, I would like for you to step in as CEO and take over this pivot. Here are our goals. Here's your runway. Here's what I'm investing in the company. And are you willing to take this?" And it was terrifying. I didn't feel ready. I was very young. I had never had a leadership role even close to being a CEO. He saw something in me, and I took a leap of faith and said yes. It was hard. The first week that I was there, I had to fire half the team, um, just because we had a runway and we were rebuilding a product. We had nothing to sell yet. We had to rebrand the company. We had to redevelop the entire platform. And then I was dealing kind of with angry customers who were sad that their old system was sunsetting, and then trying to onboard new customers to something that wasn't fully baked or fully built yet. There was a lot going on. It was more work than I've ever experience my entire life. I would do it again if I had the chance, though, because I learned more during that 15, 18-month experience than I think I could have in years had I not said yes to that.
Amazing. So what happened to that company?
Once it got to a healthy spot and positive, I was able to hand it back over. And I mentioned earlier I had this idea of Marketwake, and I couldn't shake it. And that's one of the other reasons why I left. Of okay, I have this idea. I need to go do it. I need to go fulfill it. It's not something that even during the entire experience at that company, I couldn't let it go. And I feel like whenever that happens, you have to listen to your gut, you have to listen to your intuition. And even though it was a scary thing, again, to put down something that felt so sure, to do another startup, it was right for me.
I love this. Something stood out, especially around like timing. That's why I love to give context for things. Timing is everything. Like everyone might start at different points, and I think it all depends on like what the experiences you need to be ready or feel like, okay, I'm the best one to lead my own company. And how cool that was. It's like you had 15, 18 months. And
Yeah.
also the fact that you had someone, and I see this in stories a lot, like that one person that saw something in you that you didn't even think of. That someone was like, you should be the CEO. And you're like, wait, what? Well, hold up. What are we talking about? Wait,
Not
what?
okay. Okay. Thank you. Like, are you here?
Yes.
Yeah, and I also, to your point about timing, I do not believe that I would have been the CEO that I am now at Marketwake had I not had that experience first. So even though I had
Yes.
this idea in my head, I wasn't ready for it. And I think that's another thing that I see a lot of uh, potential entrepreneurs get held up around of, well, what's the right timing and am I ready? No one's ready really for anything. You just got to take a leap of faith and do it and trust that there is a process in place. I think that was looking hindsight. I'm so grateful that I didn't start Market Week first because I needed the lessons and they were hard at the other company before stepping here.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I really enjoyed about when we originally spoke was how much leadership as women has been demonized around like just listen to your gut and how you're feeling, where it's like that is our superpower as women because we're socializing that. And the best decisions I have ever made in business were the ones where I felt it so deeply in my core where I'm
That's
like,
it.
I'm supposed to be here, not just thinking with my head. I have made some really shitty decisions that were head heart conflict. And when they were in conflict with my heart and my head was leading, that is when I've made my worst decisions.
That's it. That's it. And I think that you're spot on. So many of the leaders that I had seen who were female really leaned in more towards I would say, masculine way of leadership. And I felt very strongly that if I was going to be authentic to myself, then I needed to be authentic to myself. And I'm more of a feminine leader, but that is the superpower. It's like the intuition, the gut read, the ability to see people, the ability to understand people's energy and get a little bit of an insight into their character without exchanging words. All of that I have used over and over and over to get honestly a head start in relationships and business and opportunities because we do have intuition that it's hard to describe, but it's real. And when you listen to it, it's powerful.
Yeah, I feel like the last few years I have spent so much time deconstructing these ideas around women have to be masculine in business to succeed. Because a lot of people before me that I was learning from were saying that because, and not in a bad way, it was just that that's how they survived.
Yeah.
And it is so interesting, like doing things like I was a dancer growing up, so getting back into dance, being embodied, because it's like
Mhm.
you are have to be led by someone if you're not leading. You have to be led by not speaking. You're just energetically flowing with it. And I'm like, as a CEO now, I feel like I am better than I've ever been because I'm so in tune with that. And I think you need, which you and I are going to get to later, like the feminine masculine. And I want more women to lead from that place and feel permission to. And we're seeing it, the consequences of what it looks like when things are too hyper masculine. So I'm excited for us to get to that later. But you had this idea. And you're like, I was already incubating on it before they asked me to be CEO and I was going to step away. Okay, so what was this idea and how did you know that it was going to solve a problem?
I I didn't. I was hopeful. Very
We'll
hopeful.
see. We'll
I had
fuck
no
around and find
idea.
out.
Yeah. Sure hope it's something worth it. Yeah, I had worked with so many different agencies, and agencies fell into two buckets at the time for me, which were really analytical, implementation focused, reporting focused, but they lacked some of the creativity. And then other agencies fell into the creative bucket, where wildly creative, but not a lot of insight into what business problems they were solving, what were the KPIs that mattered, how were they driving revenue, how do we tie all of that together. And then the other aspect is all the agencies that I was working with, and I was working with a lot, there was the service component was missing. It was cold. It was cutthroat. It felt political at times. It felt that we were on opposite ends of the table. There was friction, and I couldn't figure out why. And I think one of the pieces that I wanted to solve was this concept that no matter what, you are in the service industry. And I don't know why we've separated hospitality from services. Hospitality, we think of like restaurants and hotels, and you're expected to really show up for people in magical ways in that industry. Well, marketing services are not different. We are supposed to show up for people, to see people, to serve people. And I just felt that that component was missing. And I think that that ties back into what we were talking about earlier of bringing in a feminine energy into this industry to say, what does empathy look like? How can we show up? How can we surprise and delight? How can we anticipate needs? How do we make this not necessarily a business transaction, but a relationship that is really powerful, where every client that works with us feels that they've just walked into the Ritz. And all of these components, I really wanted to say, is it possible to build an agency that's really different without all the red tape, without the stigma that a lot of agencies have, and bring hospitality into it?
Yes, I love this because it is such a balance of you're like we have the KPIs, we have all of this, but also we have this experience that you're going to feel. And when I think
Mhm.
about the best business deals, like one of our like top partners for Get Shit Done, like we have such a close relationship with that team
Yeah.
that it's just like these are people doing business with each other and you want to feel good with the people. Like that's why people go to the freaking golf course. I can't stand golf, but
Oh my gosh, I do
it
not
is
golf. I've tried it before, and
I've
it's just
tried it. My grandparents love it. They've
mm,
been doing it forever. My grandfather has tried to get me into it, and I'm like, it's not for me, but I get why
I don't know.
people do it. It's relationship building, and you want to feel something with people you do business with. So I love that you balanced both of those. It's like, yes, you're gonna get the hard business stuff, and you're gonna enjoy the process, which is what I heard
Exactly.
you say, which is amazing. So
Mhm.
this entire approach has landed your company on Inc.'s 5,000 fastest growing companies 5 years in a row. I love
Mhm.
to take it back to the do things that don't scale. What would you say were the experiments you did early on that were really really critical to your growth, but not may not be super scalable? I'm always interested in that because I think
Mhm.
right now we have so many buzzwords like grow and scale and whatever. But a lot of times founders don't realize like those early stages, you're just figuring it out. Like you sometimes you just stumble into things that you didn't even realize were going to help you grow. Like I mean, every company I've had, I look back and I'm like, I never would have thought that was a pathway, but we experimented and we figured it out. So, were there any experiments you all did
Oh.
early on that unlocked growth for you that you didn't expect?
Oh yeah, we had no idea what we were doing. We said yes. We said yes to everything. That was the rule. If a client asks, say yes. We had never done websites before. We had never done development before. We had never done paid media before. I mean, it was just me and then slowly adding people, contractors over time. And the rule was unless it's like wildly out of our wheelhouse, just say yes and we will figure it out. And then through that process, we realized what we were really, really good at and what we didn't want to continue offering. But how else would we have known? We couldn't have, and I think that goes back to just being bold and being brave and being a little risky, of just taking things on before you know that you're 100% ready, because the only way to get ready is to try it. So yeah, my team did not always love that rule because we got ourselves into some sticky situations where we had no idea who was even going to do the work or have the skill set. But then it created this hustle mentality. And Alex, when I tell you, when you say yes, that you're going to do something, our word is our word. We're going to figure it out. And then the entire team would hustle. Who do you know? Who can help us? What experts can we bring in? How do we ask questions? It got them really comfortable with being unsure, but figuring out a solution. And I feel like that is so important in any business, and especially in marketing, where marketing is changing all the time. LLM and AI completely shifted the game with SEO. Had we not worked a muscle really early on to just throw ourselves into problems and figure out a solution along the way and trust our minds, trust our network, trust our connections, I don't think that we would have been on Inc. 5000 5 years in a row. I don't think that we would have grown as quickly as we did. We just had to figure it out. So, yeah, the experiment was don't say no.
Yes. And I love what
Mhm.
you're saying too, because like there's so much advice out there around like, okay, you need to just throw things at the wall and then, okay, you need to get really focused. So even when that's, the founder of that company said, okay, we need to get focused on one category. Like this is what we need to do. There's nuances to things. Like I think there's phases of a business, like especially in the early stages, you have to experiment to your point to know what to do and not to do. And so you know what to lean into. But then at some point you got to focus on, oh, here's the thing we do really well. But then
Right.
you also can't get complacent because then you look at companies like a Kodak or these really large companies. I was listening to something about AOL the other day. Like these really large
Yes.
companies who were the behemoths and the game changers of their time, and they whittled away over time because they didn't maintain that openness and curiosity of being agile like a startup, where it's like there's going to be different phases of your business. That one pillar is great, but then the next level of growth means you need to be fresh all over again to unlock opportunities. So I'm curious as to like, for the length of time you all have been in business, how have you managed that ability to experiment and then learn how to get focused and keep doing that song and dance, which is, I mean, honestly, that's what the most successful companies do.
Yeah, extinction is real. I mean, think of BlackBerry. It
Oh, they
was
were huge. Everyone had a
huge.
BlackBerry.
Yeah, of course. AOL, BlackBerry, like it was like oh, they were. I never would have thought that they would have gone anywhere at all. But I think to your point, it is the art of balancing. We are the best at this one thing, and I understand the desire to be the best at this one thing, but sometimes it's at the expense of innovation. And we put innovation at the forefront of everything. We're always experimenting. We're not complacent. And we infuse that into our culture. We give pretty hefty budgets for education, and we ask every single one of our employees to leverage that budget for furthering education. We have our VP of marketing right now is doing Harvard classes because marketing is changing so quickly, and we need to stay appraised of everything that's happening. We meet with different colleges, we meet with different CMOs. There's just so much that shifts, and staying curious and making that a core part of our culture really important. And then also figuring out how the one thing about marketing that is really helpful is we have to report on our numbers every single week to all of our clients. And the second it starts to drip, we're the ones who have to explain why is something not working? What are you going to do differently in order for these numbers to grow? So the nature of our business requires that we innovate because our numbers are going to show when we don't. And we have that early indicator more so than a lot of other businesses because we have to defend our work, we have to defend our numbers. We're reporting against KPIs and revenue and things that businesses really care about to keep them alive. So we do have a little bit of a head start there because our numbers are going to show when we start to get complacent.
Yes, and you're hitting on so many things. There's like five key things that founders that we've interviewed here do consistently that has been an attribution to their success, and measuring like everything you experiment, measuring the business and the outcome so you know what to lean into. Because that's the part of, okay, your heart told you to go this way. Now let's like do measured experiments to balance it out so we know, okay, I'm in the right direction, but we can optimize for the best outcomes. And when you think about like how you balance, the R&D, or like not the R&D, and also leadership and development piece of
Yeah.
it with your team for, let's say, founders, because you're at like 80 employees now, and I'm really excited to get into even how you establish your culture. But for a founder who's like, okay, I have a really small team and we don't have a huge budget, what would you recommend they do to even get started in terms of maintaining that type of openness and curiosity, where it's like we can invest in growth and things we're seeing on the horizon while staying focused, but maybe we can't invest a ton and thousands of dollars because we're not, established enough as a business yet. What would you say to those founders?
The internet is free. There is so much information.
Period.
Like it is, there is so much information everywhere that you can possibly. I think though, for founders specifically, you have to live by example and lead by example. And one of the ways that we do it too, and you also have to carve out time. There's not billable hours when you're learning and you're growing. So we do games, we do group games to say if everyone completes this course, then we're all going to do this one event together, or whoever finishes this course first gets $150 gift card. So like there's a lot of ways that you can kind of gamify it too to just make this a part of who you are as a company. And I think it's really, really, really important. I am surrounded by a lot of different CEOs, a lot of founders, all kinds of different industries. And we can always tell when complacency sets in because whether they're clients or vendors or partners, when complacency sets in, everything starts it doesn't just stay the same, it starts to crumble really really quickly, and you got to teach your team how to stay hungry. And if you aren't hungry, if you start getting complacent, if you are a bad example or get apathetic and stop caring about the details, why would your team be different? And so a lot of it comes back to me and the leadership team and the way that we lead by example, and how we don't do it because we have to. We infuse energy into it. We're excited to learn. We share it with each other. On Mondays, every Monday, we have a showcase where we ask different people to teach something that they've learned, whether it is with a client or a class that they've taken or a conference that they attended. So, literally, every single Monday, we are all learning together and everyone has an opportunity to share.
I love this. I love this. So you have a team of 80 now, and then, I mean, you're getting all the awards. So y'all have been consistently on best places to work, which is awesome. When we originally spoke, one of the things that I love that you said was like, yeah, I'll walk barefoot around the office. And like, I want to set that
Oh, yeah.
standard of allowing people in our community and in our team to feel open enough to do that. And I don't think there's this one size fits all to company culture. Like, for example, we saw this crash and burn around like, in the 2010s, the startups that were like all getting beer and kegs in the office and ping pong and da da da. I'm like, that's not culture. Those are
Those
tactics
are
that
toys.
those are toys. Exact. Those are
Those are
toys. Put
toys.
it on a shirt. Those are
Yeah.
those are
Those are
toys.
toys. Yeah.
That's
That's
not
it.
culture.
Nope.
And we're seeing that. It's just like, how do you develop a powerful culture? So I'm curious as to, you have grown your team to 80, and you have seemingly created this really collaborative culture. How do you define what type of culture you want that allows you to attract and maintain the employees that you do?
Yeah, I want to tell you a story about really what formulated our culture because I think it's
Yes.
important. The company that I was at before, it was called Cubby. I can't remember if I mentioned that. Um, but I was saying at 26 years old, had no idea what I was doing. I really believed that the only way through to be successful was to grind. I took my role really seriously, and put my head down. I held everyone to a very high standard. Uh, and I worked, and I expected them to work, and I expected excellence, and I expected perfection and all of the things that aren't culture. And we interviewed someone who came in as an intern, and it was honestly as a favor to someone else. I didn't want to deal with an intern. We didn't have time to deal with an intern. And he brought something to the table that changed me and my entire life in Marketwake. So we fast forward, I get invited to pitch. It was a conference called 3686, and the winner was going to get $50,000, and we really needed that $50,000. It seems small now, but it was huge for us at the time.
It's
Small team
huge.
of four, it's huge, and
Hmm.
I wanted to win. And it was myself, Don, he was my CTO at the time, and then Paul, the intern, and we all went to Nashville. They were there, super supportive, and the contestants pitched day one. Everyone voted, and whoever was the top five of day one went on to pitch in front of judges day two. The winner of that won the 50,000. Well, day one, I was one of the top five, which very exciting. And that night, I was running lines, running lines, running lines. I was so focused. I barely even knew that Paul and Dawn were in the room. We were all sharing this one Airbnb because we had no money. And Paul comes over, and he knew me well enough to know that me practicing lines was not going to make it the best the next day. He wanted to find a way to really break me out of this intense cycle that I was in. So he starts lobbing these questions at me. The first one was like, "Hey, Brooke, a survey says, is it true you're not a robot?" And I was like, "Okay, Paul." And then starts asking me all these hilarious questions. And I started to giggle and I started to laugh. And then all of a sudden, he brings over beer. And I'm like, "Absolutely not. I cannot drink. Like, I'm going to pitch tomorrow." And then he's like, "Okay, you're more of a wine girl," brings over some wine. And I decided it wasn't worth all of this intensity and we were just going to enjoy each other. That night was one of the best nights of my entire life. Like we just laughed and played. The next day, got second place, which was good, but we literally felt like we had won everything. And he just brought this levity and this light, and I realized like that's what it was all about. And we bonded, and then from that day forward, Kathy changed. We started winning, we started being successful, we started trusting each other, we stopped expecting perfection from each other, and we started just being human and accepting our humanness and laughing along the way. And I tell you that story because Paul ended up passing away, and it impacted my heart forever. There's not a day that goes by. His picture is right behind me. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about him, but he is the reason why Marketway culture is what it is. Of yes, we can focus on being perfect and we can focus on excellence. We can focus on being the best, and we will be if we get the people right, if we get relationships right, if we get trust right, if we can figure out this, then everything follows. And our his cousin, I'm still very close with his family, and his cousin is the one who actually found our new space, and our culture has been really shaped by the legacy that Paul left. And I think that is something that you can only experience through loss and heartache, but it was a choice that I made, and it will forever be a part of the fabric of Marketwake to say the relationships come first. When that is in line and when that is in order, everything else gets easier.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for sharing that story and so sorry for your loss. It resonates so much with me. So, early last month, I had a birthday and I was going through this grief thing around just parts of myself. And one of my closest advisors, who sounds like a Paul, who's also a teammate, ended up passing away like a week after my birthday. And when I tell you, he reminds me so much of Paul. Like, I've just been on this transformation the last few years of how do I want to reimagine how I do business in a way that doesn't sacrifice my sanity, my heart, my well-being. Because again, we're leading from example, right? Like our
Yeah.
employees, the community we run, I get shit done. And Mike was such a huge piece of me opening my heart, being like, yeah, Alex, you all do the business and tactics and all that so well. And he was like, your next level is like all the work you've been doing on yourself allows you to show up and now open this space to give founders and other leaders permission to lead from this place versus us being robots. Because when you said that, I was like, I used to do this where I'm like, I can turn it on. I can get on a stage. I can pitch. I can win people over. But I'm like, am I fucking enjoying it? Am I enjoying it?
What's the point?
What's
What's
the
the point?
point?
We have no idea how long we're going to be here. And so I think that that's one of the things that really drives me to say, I'm going to show up every day as best as I can and love on people.
Mm.
And I know that that is not the coolest, sexiest thing that you've ever heard. It's not going to be the most jaw-dropping, like, wow, they've got secret to the universe. They know marketing really well. But if I can love people well, if I can show up, if I can make them create a space where they feel accepted for being themselves, then they blossom. And I think that that's why our retention is so huge here. I think it's why our creativity is so abundant here, is because they feel safe to create, because we like each other, we have fun, we really genuinely care about our humanness, and realizing that we're not that different. We just want to be seen. And so, like, how can we see each other in new ways and infuse that into everything that we do? Because ultimately, whether you are in marketing or you're manufacturing, everything that we do is for another human. And we forget that. We focus on the profit, we focus on the money, we focus on the success, we focus on uh, the end outcome, realizing that actually at the end of the day, it is all for people. And that is a huge realization that I think that our team champions and carries. And when their cups are full, they treat our clients with respect, and they're able to laugh with their clients. They don't take things too seriously. And so, you mean it even helps with mistakes. We're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. When we have that trust, whether it's internal team or with a client, we give each other passes. And I think that that creates the ability to for people to dream big and not be afraid to say things out loud.
Yes. Well, shout out to Paul and Mike. So
Yeah.
appreciative. And it also
And
it reminds me, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, how beautiful, like, their legacies live on. What they taught us,
Yes.
it lives on. And I think that for, it sounds like Mike too, both Paul and Mike, they had it right. And now we get to be the champions of their legacy.
Yes. Oh, it's like we're gonna do another episode on this around like how do you manage grief as a founder when
Mm.
you're building, when it's like, can I stop? I can't really stop, but I need to feel my feels. But it's, someone when I was, and I'm still grieving Mike, but someone told me like, just think about the legacy you're leaving. Like literally the week before he passed, he and I submitted a big proposal for an RFP the day before my birthday. And the
Mm.
amazing thing was like he had passed away, and then a couple weeks later we got called to go to the final rounds, and now we're waiting to hear about it. But my friend was like, how awesome that is that like when you all pull this off, manifest it. When
Mm.
you all pull this off, like you get to do it in his name. And it is like what we would be delivering on programming is all around how do we help founders be more heart centered and connect
Ah,
with each other. I'm just like full circle moment. So
oh,
I
beautiful.
totally agree with you. It's like how do we can those champions can forever be in our legacy, and I'm so grateful. And it also
Mm.
makes me think of what you and I talked about originally around balancing the masculine and the feminine in our leadership. And this is not just women are masculine or women are feminine and men are masculine. A great example of how everyone needs a balance is Paul and Mike, is
Hmm.
that they were telling us women, hey, open your heart a little bit
Yeah.
more, have some
Yes.
more fun. That is innately
Hey.
feminine. We both, as all leaders, men and women, or however you identify, we need a measure of both. So I'm curious in your leadership, how do you balance doing both? Because I do believe everybody needs both so we can be great leaders.
We do, and we all have both in us. It's just how easy is it to access, and when do you apply it? And I think about like an analogy that I think of often is almost like a riverbed, where the masculine is the container and the structure that allows the feminine energy to run fluid. It's the river that flows through a contained space, a safe contained space, and we both. Every single person is going to be that at different stages and different phases. Maybe every single day you're going to be both. But sometimes you have to create a safe space for someone else to flow, and other times you feel safe enough to be able to tap into your feminine energy and really move in a really amazing, powerful, fluid motion. And here I have to play both roles, obviously, often. And I think one of the ways that I do that, which has helped our women and men also, is as a woman, you are able to sense emotion pretty quickly. You know when someone's having a bad day, you know when someone's having a great day, you know when someone is just a little off. a lot of men don't necessarily notice that. And they're like, I don't know, I didn't notice anything. They were acting weird. And it's like, yeah, they were acting really weird. They've been acting really weird for several days. We have the opportunity to ask. And I think that that is something that I encourage a lot of our women to do is like, if you're noticing someone is off, don't just ignore it. Maybe they're screaming and they're just hoping that someone is going to pay attention enough in order to figure out or to ask them, are they okay? And I think it's helped us mitigate a lot of potential problems and potential buildup when I walk by and I can sense someone's frustrated. Hey, what's going on? Talk to me. What's it? And then sometimes talking about it, that's enough to prevent the buildup from happening. But it wouldn't happen because not everyone feels safe to just kind of unleash every once in a while or unload or talk through it. A lot of people say, oh, well, this isn't big enough to bring to my manager. This isn't big enough to bring to the CEO. But over time, those little things that aren't big enough end up becoming the volcano that erupts. And I think as women, we have the opportunity to mitigate that by really seeing our team and caring and asking and saying, how are you? Is this a personal thing? Is it a professional thing? That does mean we absorb a lot. And we have to figure out ways to deal with that ourselves. That's where therapy comes in, and that is very important. But I do believe that that has helped us have a team that just is relaxed because I'm asking constantly and teaching our team to ask constantly, what's going on? What do you need help with? How can I serve you? Is there anything that you want to talk through?
Yes. This this makes me think of the emotional weight women hold. And especially, I mean, our businesses are within the macro of everything else happening in the world. If it's social, political, economic, and then your personal life on top of that, your business. Like you're doing all the things, and women are socialized to be nurturers and to be emotionally in tune. There's so much happening right now. So when you have that portal where it's like, I innately do this, it's a lot to carry. It is a lot to carry. It's a lot of weight. So for the women leaders that are listening into this, that are like, oh my God, yes, I carry a lot of emotional weight, but I don't know how to put it down. What
Mm.
would you say to them? And through your own practices, how are you absorbing, then releasing, so then that weight doesn't break your back? Because I'm seeing so many women that are carrying all the things, but there's nowhere they're putting it down.
I think wisdom is understanding the difference between what you can and cannot control. And when you realize that there's a lot of burden out there, there is very little that you can do to control. And it is not your job to solve everyone's problems. It is your job to be there, but it is not necessarily your job to solve their problems. And that is a huge aspect of me not carrying the weight of understanding what my role is. I am not the hero. I am not the savior. I am not the martyr. My role is to be a leader. And in being a leader, I can extend a listening ear. I can give advice, but that's it. They have to make their own decisions. It is enablement if you start to make the decisions for them or you start to try and fix all their problems. It will not create a scalable company if you are always coming in and fixing it, because then that teaches the team. If you complain to Brooke, then she's going to actually fix it, whether they say it out loud or not, or if it's subconscious, it's a behavior and a pattern. And I really work on what is wisdom, what are the inputs that I'm taking in, and then do I have the wisdom to know what is my role and what is not my role? And I have to ask that to myself to know what I'm responsible for, even when I'm listening, even when I'm hearing. And there's a lot going on. I mean, we've got people who have family members with cancer and death and experiences. Life is life, and it never ends. It never ceases. That is a practice that I work on all the time to say, Brooke, what is your role? What is the wisdom that you need to impart here? And when do you need to just be that listening ear and let it go? Because you do not serve the broader team if you're taking all of this on. You've got to put your own mask on. You need to take care of yourself. And this is not yours to fix. It is yours to care about. You can care about the human, but it is not necessarily yours to fix. And that's hard. We want to fix it and we want other people
Mm.
to see us fixing it.
Ugh, the performativeness, the perfectionism.
Mhm.
recovering and in therapy for it. So totally
Mhm.
understand.
Yep.
And, you have, I think whether subconsciously do this is because even women, sometimes we might be like, this is the woman's job. So sometimes we might turn to the other women on our team to say, hey, this thing's happening with can you check in? And it's just like, how do we all collectively carry this weight? Because we have
Mhm.
awesome male leaders that there's so much anger with men right now because they are literally dying to be tapped into their feminine. So how are you as a leader creating spaces for the male leaders on your team to also step up and create space to hold some of that emotional weight as well so it doesn't just trickle to the women on the team?
Great question. And also I will say the men on this team are remarkable. And
Yes.
they're remarkable. I can't even begin to tell you, like we would not be here if it was not for them. And I think what they do really well is naturally not carry the burden the way that women do. Naturally, they're really good at that. And so I think it's a share give and take of like they actually help teach us and me even what it looks like to be there to hear, but not to absorb and not to own. And then we help them say, hey, yeah, it's not just that she was in a bad mood. Like ask, say, is there anything that you can do to help? And it's like, oh yeah, of course. Helping men realize that they're allowed to ask. It's not my business. I don't want to interfere. I don't want to intrude. It's like, no, it's actually completely fine. You can ask, care, show that mentality. And then that give and take of really leaning into each other's strengths is really helpful. And then also because we're such a close team, I everyone and I know that this is not necessarily the most scalable thing, or every culture is very different. But I will say we have gotten so attuned to each other. We can tell if someone is even just this off. And it's everyone's role to help figure out, like, okay, what do we need to do? Is it a workload problem? Was a client rude to them? And so being really attuned and teaching everyone to pay attention to each other has been really, really helpful.
I love this because one of my mentors took me through this and she meant it for dating at the time, but I realized this is everything in my life. She was like, what are the three key things that you value, knowing you have multiple values, but the top three that it's like for you to be admitted into Alex land or GSD land, these three things fundamentally have to be there. And any of the other values just that people align with determines how much further they can go with inside, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And my top three are literally integrity, curiosity, and emotional attunement. Like that is, I'm like, you
Love.
need to be emotionally attuned to the other people around you. It is emotional attunement is not like carry it. It is, I see you and I support you. It's not my job to carry, but how can I support you in putting some of this weight down without me absorbing it? And I
Yep.
love that you said when you said attunement, you all are just attuned. That made me just perk up because
Mhm.
attunement is one of my top things and all of us have it. You can literally see like in someone's body language, but we're so fixated on our own personal development sometime and so like because I think we're so stressed and scared so we're like how can I just make myself perfect, but I'm like you don't need to be perfect, just look around to the people around you and giving them a kind smile. Hey, are you okay? Are you like something? You don't need to fix them, it's
Yep.
just see them, just see
Just see
them.
them. Just see them. Oh, it's so funny. So we just had a local artist. His name's Jeremy Brown. He's fantastic.
Mhm.
We commissioned this three-piece work of art, and the goal I was like, here's my vision. He executed flawlessly. I'll have to send you a photo.
Mm.
But what I notice when people first come to Marketwake, no matter what age they are, they all tend to come with a mask because all of us do. They want to be professional. They want to show up. They're trying to figure out like who they're supposed to be, and there's this huge mask, and so like one of the paintings is just kind of thick, and you can't see through it. It's very opaque, very dark, and it's just this mask. Over time here, I watch as people start to shed layers of that mask, and as you shed layers of that mask, what you realize behind that mask, there are cracks we are all human. We all have our weaknesses, we all have our issues, we all have our baggage, we all have our problems and our fears. So the cracks start to show, and then people sometimes get a little bit afraid that the cracks are showing, and so then they put the mask back on, but that's like really unsustainable. And at some point in time, the realization that we are all perfectly imperfect happens. The mask comes down. There are cracks everywhere, but light can shine through. And so the last work of art, there are cracks everywhere, but there's light behind it. And so the light shines through. And it's like that to me, we have it where everyone can walk by it every single day. Cause it's like when you put that mask on every single day, when you show up as someone that you are not, when you show up that in a way that is not authentic to yourself, no one actually gets to see your light. And your light comes through your imperfections. Your light comes through your humanness. Your light comes through the fact that when you're talking to that client, because you've been through something too, you understand, you're attuned to them, you can meet them where they are. And it's just a constant reminder that that mask serves no one. You being you, the best version of yourself, it's not an excuse to be moody and a terrible person. No, pursue the best version of yourself, but your imperfection is where your light is, and that's what connects all of us.
I love this. And it reminds me of business is just business, that saying. And I'm like, no, business is not just business. It's humans running businesses. It is innately
Personal.
human. It is innately
Personal.
human. And
Yes.
so I, even on business calls, I might have like a sales call and I might pick up on that person's energy. And like, I love being able to say, like, how are you? And then the person might be like, oh, it's okay. Like, everything's good. And then I might be like, well, good for you. Like, today I'm having a shitty day. Like, or
Mhm.
this week has been rough or whatever. And then that person changes their answer. You're like, then they're
Yeah.
like, thank you for saying that because today sucks. And then we might just talk about literally for the first 15 minutes what they're going through because that person in their entire day has been on back-to-back calls, has literally had no space for themselves. And I'm like, you know what? If there's one thing I can do today is just be a human and create a space in this 30 minutes for someone else to just get it off their chest without me absorbing it, I can do that. And maybe we spend the next 15 minutes and then that person literally shifts and they're
Mhm.
just like, oh my God, I feel fed. And then those are the best relationships in business I have because it's just like,
Yeah.
I see you as a human and we can talk about the business and all that stuff later, but let's just make sure you're good first and then we can
Yep.
get into it. So I love that you have that.
Yeah. And it's so important too because clients are going through so much. It's like, did you just get yelled at by your board? Is your CEO
Hmm.
angry with you? Is it if Market Week is the only place, and we have so many clients being like, It's my favorite call of the week." It's like, yeah, because we're humans first. We're gonna do excellent work. Otherwise, you're gonna fire us. So like that should be the base expectation. Excellent. We should show up and crush your results. And you actually get to be yourself with us, and you probably don't get to on your team. And that's what we
Mm,
hear over and over and over is like, thank you, Market Week, for like creating this space where we get to show up on the call and actually breathe instead of being this robot, super
yeah.
professional. Here's how I do my business speak. It's no, take a deep breath. We're all here. We're your team, and it allows us to solve the right problems instead of the wrong problems. It helps us collaborate better. It helps us be more creative. It helps them give us real feedback of like what's working and what's not in a way that is actually actionable. It just takes off all of the stuffiness that you have to sift through in order to actually figure out what you're doing. It expedites that process.
Yes. So if you think about, how long you've been in business and doing Market Wake, and if you reflect on this journey, what would you say has been one of the most challenging things you've experienced? It could be personal, it could be specifically to the business, but
Yeah,
one of the most challenging things you've had to navigate while growing the company that you feel has really shaped you as a leader today.
man, so much. I got a divorce um, right before right before COVID, and was left with like $17 in my bank account in order to protect Market Wake. Basically gave away my
Wow.
life in order to protect the company. And then we moved into a new space. It was a huge leap for us. We went from a 2,000 square foot office to a 10,000 square foot office. I had no idea what I was going to do I basically had to rebuild my entire life. And then COVID hit. and we had this huge lease, and I didn't know what to do. And then I went through a partner buyout, and then we had an acquisition that was complicated. There are so many things where life just continued to hit and hit and hit. Lots of loss in between all of that. And it's like there's no breaks. Like you said it earlier, there's no breaks. I didn't get to just like take a sabbatical and take off. It's like just showing up. And I think that the only thing that you can do is to choose to show up every day. Like there's never going to be an end. And I've had to resolve myself to this of like, there's never going to be an end of challenges because life is just one challenge after another. Like I can decide though that I'm going to show up with resilience and positivity and be an example. Doesn't mean I'm not tired sometimes. I get really tired. But at the same
Ooh,
time, it's like
girl.
I get really tired. But it's like, what else am I gonna do? Like I can't control a lot of that. So I show up, and I think in showing up every single day with positivity, with care, with love, even when you don't feel it, then you start to actually receive it back. And then it's like, oh, well, I needed to receive it back, even though I didn't start feeling it. I gave it, and now they're giving it back to me, and then everything just starts to get easier.
Yes, I love that. I love the realness of that answer too, because I think we train women so often to put on this mask and be super women and whatnot. And something I had to put down that I was like, I'm going to drop the ball on this. And for my own sanity was making myself think that being a good leader is like I need to have it all together all the time. And that doesn't actually give my team permission to be human. So if I'm having a day, I'm like, I'm having a day. Like I am feeling the feels. I'm gonna be offline for a little bit, but let's do this meeting. And then it gives them when they're having about, okay, this sucks. And then I also know as a leader, like if they're slow on something, they're not slacking. They are going through something and I can give them that space. But again, it starts with us. Our businesses are a reflection of us. So thank you for
Yep.
sharing that. I think that's so
Yeah.
important. And my final question to you, and a big reason why we do this podcast is we really want people to reimagine what success in business looks like to them. And we say revolutionizing success because what's revolutionary is for us to just grow our businesses that feel successful to us, not some picture perfect thing that the market tells us or some inspirational speaker told us. No, it's what feels good to you. So, what
Yeah.
would you say is success to you in this business today? What does that look like? And has it evolved since you started Marketwake?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's definitely evolved.
She's not a
Yes.
robot anymore.
I'm not a robot anymore. It's definitely evolved. It's like, oh, we're gonna be the biggest and the best and the fastest. And it's like, yeah, 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 for sure. Of course, financial success is a huge component of this. What drives me is actually freedom. I want freedom for myself, freedom for my team. I want them to experience being the best version of themselves. I actually have this hat. So this is a hat that we made. It's going to be backwards, but it
Yes.
says champagne celebrations for all the little things. And I
Yes.
think so often we wait for the big things to celebrate. And we're like, once we get here, then I'll celebrate. Once we get here, then I'll be successful. Once we get here. And the reason why we have this hat is because my version of success now is just how often are we able to celebrate the little things in our life? And that is what gets us to those bigger things. Do people walk away from here feeling like they are valuable, that they provide, that they have purpose, that their talents and gifts are being used to the greatest extent, that whatever they produce actually matters in the world? And the name Marketwake actually started because I watched a tiny boat, leave a wake so large that it shook the dock that I was on. And that's what drives me still is helping people realize that no matter what, you're going to leave a wake behind you and make sure that it's a really positive one. And is the wake that leaves Market Wake positive? Is the wake that our clients leave, is it a positive one? And so I think success for me is I would love Market Wake to be on every continent. I would love Market Wake to be a 100-year-old business. I have no intention of letting it go. I think the world needs more Market Wake. And are we leaving a positive wake behind us? Do people feel valuable when they are here or when they encounter us? So yeah, that's success for me.
Ooh, I love it. Drop the mic. So for
That's-
For those listening in that are just like, yes, I want to leave awake and I want to support you in leaving yours, how can people listening in right now support you in your goals in the business right now, or even personally? How can they connect with you?
Connect. I answer everything. So you email, I will answer. My email is Brooke at marketwake.com. I'm always on LinkedIn, and how you can help, man, I don't know. There's so many small ways. I think that building a network of women and people over time has propelled me in my life so dramatically. So yeah,
Mm,
I think that depending on who it is, the answer is different.
yeah,
Um, I think just meeting people.
amazing. And who are the top people you would like to meet right now, actually?
The top people I'd like to meet. Oh my gosh, putting me on the spot, Alex.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. We're going to help you get shit done in your business too.
I love it. I love it. Top people I would like to meet. I would love to meet someone who has launched a video production company. It's something
Mm,
that we are expanding into in a
mm.
huge way. So anyone out there listening who is really good on the video production, has done bigger ads, like commercials, I would love to meet that person.